Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. Today's guest is Aurora Gregory, and she is the owner of Marketing That Matters. So Aurora is a master at getting you booked as an irresistible speaker to grow and leverage your business. She is also the co-author of Get Picked, Tips and Tricks and Tools for Creating an Irresistible Speaker Proposal. She also just created an incredible toolkit that she's going to give us a sneak peek about today. But she has spoken at literally hundreds of local, national, and international conferences. And she also coaches speakers on every aspect of the speaker life, from topic development all the way down to presentation and delivery. So Aurora, thank you so much for joining us today.
Michelle, I'm so glad to be with you, and I'm excited about our conversation.
So Aurora, can you give us a quick background about, how did you end up in this marketing genius?
Isn't it funny? It's one of those things that just lets you know there's a niche for everybody. So I kind of found my way into this niche when I was doing some work for a lot of corporate clients. One of my hats is as I'm a marketing communications consultant, and I work with a lot of financial services companies who want to get on stages. They want to put their experts, their executives on stages where they can get in front of their customers and prospects to talk about all of the great things that they do and the ways that they can support their customers. And probably about 15 years ago, I had one of my clients come to me and said that they were kind of struggling with getting on stages at a particular event, and wanted us to take a look. A colleague of mine, my co-author David, wanted us to take a look at some of their content to see if we could improve it. So we did, and just having some outside perspective, we definitely were able to help them be a little bit more successful. But then we had another client come to us with a topic that wasn't very, as we say, sexy. It was kind of a tough topic, but they were very committed to it, and they really
it was like a topic about automation and outsourcing, like my incredibly boring show, right?
Well, and it's one of those things that's like, these are very necessary things, automation and outsourcing, but it's not sexy.
No.
And so working with them, we had to kind of devise a new approach on how we were going to reinvent this topic to explain why it needed to be on a conference agenda. And so we took a different stab at it, and lo and behold, we were successful. We thought, wow, what if we were able to do that with a topic that was a little harder to pitch and a little harder to get on the stage? How much more successful could we be for our clients if we applied that to really great topics? And so that's what we started to do. And our success on clients' behalf was incredible. And so we started landing them on lots of stages, started hearing from conferences that we were making it really hard for them to pick just a few of the speakers that we were putting in front of them. And that's always a good goal, to hear from someone, oh, you made this really hard for me. And so we continue to use that process over the years. And, just found some great success. Really we're able to kind of refine the 5 different elements, the 5 characteristics that make for a great speaker pitch, and started to use them and started to find some success, to the point that we started having conferences make referrals to us. They would have people that were pitching them and wanting to get on their stage and not being successful. And the conference would say, look, we can't help you, but call Aurora Gregory. She might be able to help you with your topic. And
That's a
so
nice problem to have.
it was really awesome. It was one of those moments where you just know, like, okay, that's you try not to pat yourself too hard on the back, but that was, I have to say, that was a really proud moment the first time that happened. So that was how I, kind of landed in the niche. And then about 3.5 years ago, David and I realized that we had really systematized how to approach developing a great speaker proposal, a great speaker pitch. And that if we could share that with speakers who were, perhaps individuals with a message, or a small business owner who wanted to use public speaking and didn't know how to get on a stage or how to pitch themselves, if we could, show them the tools that they needed and give them this strategy, if they applied it, they would do what we've been doing for clients, which is dramatically increase their chances of getting picked to speak. And so that was the point at which we realized, okay, we need to write a book. And that was how Get Picked was born. So that's my journey into public speaking. It's got some other, funny stories about it. One of them that I love to tell is, writing a public speaking book. Before writing the book, I didn't do a lot of public speaking myself. And then, to my surprise, writing a public speaking book launched me into my own public speaking sphere. So I always kind of laugh about that, because somehow it didn't occur to me that would happen, but it did. And I was able to kind of rediscover the love of public speaking that I had when I was young in high school and junior high and in high school. So that's
Okay.
a little bit of my journey.
Yeah. How awesome. So you kind of were like the background girl, and then you wrote a book, and like, ta-da, now you're going to be on stage, and you're like, oh, I didn't bargain for this.
That's a little bit, that's really actually quite accurate. Being a marketing consultant, I was in public relations and media relations early in my career. I was very used to helping others prepare for their moment on the stage, their moment in front of the camera, their moment in front of the microphone. And so it done quite a bit of training and preparing people for it. And in preparing, had to also do a lot of, demonstration and, smaller group speaking, but had never done it. And when you're used to being the one behind the scenes, prepping everyone else, being, a little bit like Cinderella before the ball, you get everybody out there. And so it was a totally new experience for me, but one that I've just come to enjoy. And honestly, one that I've been able to see do what I've told other people it will do for them. It has certainly enhanced and supported and grown my business.
Yeah. So that's, something I really wanted to bring up. Let's say, I'm like, Aurora, I am a background kind of girl or gal. I don't want to be on stage because I'm going to be like Miss Congeniality, and I'm just going to trip in my heels and fall flat on my face at the Miss USA pageant, right? So, how in the world, why are you trying to convince me that I need to use speaking to grow my career, to build my business, and move my message? Why do you want to torture me like this?
Well, the first thing that everyone needs to understand is that I can't think of very many speakers that don't have a little nervousness and some butterflies around the act of public speaking. So we can talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But in terms of the answer to the question, well, why should you? Public speaking is probably one of the most efficient ways to network and talk about your message to a large group of people all at one time. Let's just use kind of a traditional networking event, and in real life, as we say, type of networking event. You might belong to your local chamber of commerce, for instance, and there's the monthly mixer, and you go and you get to meet people and talk with them about what they do, and you talk about what you do. If there are, say, 300 people at that mixer, it's impossible for you to get to each one of them and to talk effectively and succinctly about what you do, how it might connect to them and their business, be able to really showcase the strength of what it is that you have to offer. You wouldn't be able to do it in a 2-hour mixing event in real life, but from the stage, or we're going to use the public speaking term very broadly, being a podcast guest or doing a live streaming event with someone, being part of a summit, or even just going live from your Facebook page. you have the opportunity to connect with more people at one time than you ever possibly could in a real life situation. And so that's why I say that public speaking is one of the most efficient marketing tools that you could ever use, and why, even if you're a little hesitant, to really make the effort to find one public speaking opportunity, avenue, venue that actually could work for you, that you could be comfortable with, and use it as part of your marketing of your business. It's just that important. There just really is no other tool that's as efficient as public speaking.
So how does this, I get the nerve and I finally decide to go on a summit, right? How does this translate into revenue and passive income for my business? Like, why put myself through this?
Sure. So, from the stage, from a summit interview, from a podcast interview, you'll have an opportunity to draw leads to you. And I think that's really what we're looking for, is we're looking to draw potential customers to ourselves. In the sales world, they call them leads. We're looking to be able to generate leads. When you offer yourself from the stage, when you talk about what you can do, and more importantly, when you serve from the stage and you share with an audience what it is that they need to do to improve their situation, to help their businesses grow, to make a change in their life, you draw them to you. There's a quote that I love from a marketing expert named Peter Shankman, and he says, everybody should be on stage because everybody believes the person who's on stage. You're the expert just by the simple fact that you step up and begin to share your message. And when people want to learn something, when people have a need that they need to fill in their own business, they're looking for the expert. They're looking for someone that they can connect with. They're looking for someone, just depending on what the need is and the business style, the style of the business, they're looking for someone that they personally connect with. And you are able to demonstrate all of that from the stage and draw people to you. So if you are looking to connect with people and collect email addresses, you do that from the stage. There was a podcast interview I did probably about 18 months ago. The podcast host has a great reach with her show, and the fans of her show continue to come in and revisit different episodes when they're looking for learning on a particular thing. They come to her listing of episodes and experts that she's talked to. Even today, 18 months later, I can still tell when someone has joined my email list because they listen to her show, just by the venue by which they come in. And that's so important. That is how you build your business. You're trying to draw leads to yourself so that you can continue to cultivate that relationship with them and continue to offer what it is that you have that can serve them and help them achieve the goals that they have for their lives and their businesses.
So what actually qualifies somebody to actually get on stage and be a speaker? I mean, do you have to have all these certificates and stuff? Or, I mean, like, it can be a little daunting.
You know what? I think it can be. And I think for a lot of us, we get in our own heads thinking that we have to be at a certain level, have achieved a certain amount of success, have a certain piece of paper hanging on the wall in order to be qualified as an expert. And the truth of the matter is, all of us are experts in something. If we're running a business, we are an expert in whatever that business offers to the public. If we're a motivational speaker, then whatever our life experience is and the journey that we've lived in this life that we're bringing from the stage and that we're sharing from the stage, we're an expert in that. And so I always challenge everyone, you're going to have to do a little bit of a mindset shift. You're going to have to shut the voice down that says, well, who are you to get on stage? And turn up the volume on the voice that says, well, why shouldn't you be on stage? For me personally, when the time came to write this book, we had been working together. David and I had been working together and had refined this strategy for 15 years. I had to fight my own voice and say, well, who are you to write a book? And I had to turn up the volume and say, well, why not me? And I think that's the question that everyone needs to be able to respond to that negative Nancy in their head and say, well, why not you? All of us, I'm sure, have had that experience of seeing who we believe is the expert, a guru, or whatever. You either listen to them and say, well, I teach that. That's what I do. That's affirming that you are doing the right thing. Or in another frame, you might have see someone and say, okay, that is not the way that you should do that. Or, gosh, I think I could do that better. And those are all valid things, but they should be the things that affirm that you do know what you're doing. And you should be on a stage offering your knowledge, offering your zone of genius to people who, quite frankly, are desperate to hear what it is that you have to say, who need what it is that you have to offer. You might not be the only person who talks about what you talk about or who does what you do, but there are people in the world who can only learn it the way that you do it. It doesn't matter that there are other people who are doing it bigger or better than you. It doesn't matter. Your people are not their people. And so what your goal is to go out there and share what you have so that the group that can only hear it from you can find you.
Yeah, that's so true. And while you were talking about this, the person that popped in my brain was Zig Ziglar, right? At a certain point, like he started, right? He had his first speaking engagement and he probably was terrible at it. And even towards the end of his life, God love him, he was like amazing. He was still out there speaking and
Yep.
he kind of couldn't keep track of where he was going, but he still made a huge impact. And I think that just tells us, like my type A personality is it has to be perfect. And if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not getting on stage and I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of 1,000 people, right?
Yep.
But imperfect action and it's a skill, right? You get better at it every time you do it. And I love Zig Ziglar, but a lot of people he's an acquired taste, I think, for some, right? But like it's like oh my gosh, are you a basketball fan at all?
I am.
Okay, so Dickie V, right?
Yep.
He, like, you either love him or you mute the TV, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I'm one of the ones that mute the TV, right? But I have like an amazing respect for the man because he's like this incredible sports broadcaster, right? Yeah, but he's just not my cup of tea, but he is for those, for that audience. And I shouldn't say he's not my cup of tea. I love watching him do a, North Carolina Duke game, right?
Right.
But like at a certain point, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough energy for you.
Well,
Right.
and I think your analogy of sports broadcasters for the sports heads in our audience listening in, that's such a perfect example because if you listen to a lot of sports conversation about, or just go on Twitter during a big game, and you will hear people who love the announcing team and you'll hear people who hate the announcing team. And that just, I think, it's proof positive that every person is not for everybody. And so your goal is not to be for everybody. Your person is to be for everyone who you're for. And so, you can take Dickie V in small doses. You can, you learn from him, but then at some point, you got to turn on you got to turn on the radio to hear the radio broadcast team.
Move a little towards Ahmad Rashad.
Exactly. But I think, for all of us in whatever our expertise, we do that as we build our businesses. And it's exactly what we want to do as public speakers. When we build our businesses and as we're starting out, we have to define who we're for, who is our product or service for. And that's always the first step in trying to step out as a public speaker. So for people who have already, done those initial early steps of building their business and defining who is their ideal customer, you just swap out that word customer and replace it with the word audience. And you're probably pretty close in solving or answering the question, what audience do I want to speak to? Because you've already done the work of defining the customer, and you're wanting to speak to people that that make up an audience of those people that are your potential customers, because that's who you're for. And to your point, everybody has a starting point. I know the Zig Ziglar story really well. If anyone's interested or curious about him, there's a great documentary on Amazon Prime about him. It's a great documentary to watch, and you hear about all of his failures
Yeah.
before he kind of found his niche as a motivational speaker. But early on, all of us, I always tell people, before you can be great, you have to be not so great. None of the speakers that we see, none of the marketers, none of the business people that we admire as role models woke up one day and were what we see them as today. They had a beginning, and that beginning was likely small. And we should not, despise the days of small beginnings. You've got to take a step, you've got to start. And yeah, your first few forays into public speaking may not be perfect, but that's okay. No one has perfect outings the first time out, and you can't get good unless you get going. So get going, step out and try, because that's that practice, that effort is what's going to get you farther along the road and becoming more experienced.
And I think, that's true for everyone. If you think of like Grace Lever, right? She's the gal out of Australia that calls everybody lovely, which, hey, lovely. But she said that, the first time she was on stage, her feet were literally like her ankles were knocking together. And she didn't remember a word of what she said because she was so nervous. And she had like 100 people come up to her and tell her like how amazing she was. And she went back and listened to it. And she's like, oh my gosh, this was horrible. Right. But, and she's grown from it, and she's obviously become who she is today. But I mean, it's so true. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yep.
So if you could say, like, if you had to pick, what's the most important thing to know or do when getting started in public speaking?
The first thing, especially for, as I think about, the folks that probably compose the folks that are listening to us today, is to really get clarity on who this audience is that you're wanting to speak to and what are their pain points. And that's why I said just a moment ago that for us as business owners, since we already probably have a good idea of the customer that we're going after, that we're trying to sell to, we probably already have a good sense of who that audience is, but really define them and get really clear on what are their struggles, their pain points, the challenges that they face, and how what you do, what your zone of genius, your expertise, how does it match up? Once you have that thing figured out, who those people are, it makes everything else that you need to do around public speaking a lot easier to do. In particular, how to even just go about finding speaking gigs. Because once you know who those people are and what their challenges are, then you can go out and start searching for, well, where do they gather? Like, where do they meet? Where do they go to learn, to mingle, to network? Like, where are they? So once you know who they are and what they struggle with, you can answer the question, okay, where do they go? Google and a few other resources can help you with that. Google is probably the primarily one. Hashtags, searching hashtags, especially on Instagram, social media is great for that. But you got to know where they are, because where they are is where your speaking opportunities are going to be.
Okay, that's great, because that was like my absolute next question was, okay, now I've niched down my avatar, how the heck do I find them? And then how do I get on a stage where they're at?
Right.
So I would imagine some of that is probably in Get Picked.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely some content in there about that. And I'll just share a few tips now on how to do that. In terms of looking for speaking opportunities, Google and social media are going to be some of your best friends. So when you're out there Googling, let's just say that you support mompreneurs, moms who are trying to build businesses. You would go out to Google and your search would be conferences for mompreneurs or mothers who are entrepreneurs. And you'll be shocked at what Google will return to you. Everything from small events to large events, everything from online events to in real life events, you will get all of that information so that you can build a list of conferences that you want to go after. You can change, let's say that you are not interested in speaking to a live audience just yet, and you're looking to be a podcast guest. Then you'll just change the word conferences to podcasts for mompreneurs, mothers who are entrepreneurs. That's your Google search. And you'll, again, be amazed at everything that gets returned to you. When you go onto Instagram, you'll want to do some of the same things. Search those hashtags for that audience that you are serving. The hashtag world is a wealth of information. You'll be able to find out what events that audience is going to, or attending, or listening to online, or podcasts that they're listening into, tuning into regularly. That's the beginnings of being able to pull those threads and start building a list of events that you can take a look at and see, okay, am I a fit for this? And you'll want to just take a look at them. Do they accept speakers? Is this an event where potentially it's easy for me to get to, if that's an issue for you? Or is it an online event? Is it a summit and I need to apply to be able to be a part of that summit event? But those are the ways that you can get just a good sense, and I hope it would be an encouraging sense of actually how many events are out there and how many opportunities really exist for speakers.
So let's say I'm just not, Instagram isn't my thing. How do I search hashtags on Instagram? I mean, everybody knows how to Google, right? But what about searching hashtags on Instagram?
So on Instagram, there's a search feature. So if you're mostly just your engagement with Instagram is maybe mostly just collecting your friends and watching their posts and their stories, in your search feature, you can not only search for people, but you can search for hashtags. And so you would put in the search bar the hashtag symbol and then the word that you're looking for. And as you type the word that you're looking for after that hashtag symbol, what pops up is a list of hashtags that are kind of related to that. And what you'll see underneath each one of the hashtags that pops up, you'll see how many posts are currently viewable against that hashtag. And so you'll want to pick some. And what's great about that feature on Instagram is you can actually follow a hashtag. So you can click follow that particular hashtag, or maybe several, and then you'll start to see those posts pop up in your feed so that you can start to get to know that audience a little bit better, see what they're going for, see what they're talking about, get some maybe even further clarity around their pain points and how they're solving them. Chances are good, not only are you going to learn about speaking opportunities and where they're gathering, chances are good you're going to learn a little something about what some deeper issues of their struggles, so that you can also refine your business offerings to meet their needs even better.
That's awesome. So this may seem like obvious, but for some of our listeners, it might not be. So I get this huge list of hashtags, right? And there's like 2,000 posts. And I'm like, great, how the heck do I pull the speaking engagements out of the 2,000 posts?
So what you're going to want to do is course through some of them. Obviously, no one has the time to go through 2,000 of them. But I think as your eye gets a little bit more attuned to what you're looking for, and again, going back to the starting point, which is the audience and their pain points. The audience and the issues we're going to just stick with our mompreneurs audience. Their issues are really varied, from everything from needing to meal plan to how are they growing their business. So you'll be able to kind of exclude the ones that have nothing to do with meal planning if that's not your business. If you're not about meal planning for mompreneurs, well, then you can just exclude some of those. But if you're all about, building traffic for the mompreneur business owner, then you're going to be looking for those, and you're going to be looking for those places where meetings and events are happening. And as you make those lists, decide to take 5, maybe 10 of them, and then go out to those events websites and take a look. Is this an event that it's an opportunity for me? Am I too early to offer myself as a speaker, or am I too late? The event has happened and I'm too late, and I need to just keep my eyes peeled for the next time that they're looking for speakers? Or do I need to start building a relationship with that conference planner so that I can get to know them a little bit better? Because, like in all things, relationship building is really key when it comes to public speaking. So is this an opportunity for me to build some relationships by commenting on posts and sharing some helpful content with their audience, to kind of support my pitch when I get ready to offer myself as a speaker for something?
Okay. Yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense, and it's a lot more dialed in. And we're all about systems. So I'm just like sitting here thinking, oh, all right, I just got to create a video and go have my VA do that for me.
Yes,
Yes.
and public speaking, honestly, there's a lot of opportunity to, once you do the pieces that only you can do, there's some great opportunities to be able to create a system and to have some VA support, especially when it comes to, getting pitches out or just booking appointments. Let's say you're going to use, podcast guesting is really going to be your strategy, and being a guest on shows is what you really want to do. You create and develop your pitch, and then you can work with a VA to have them send those pitches out and book and secure appointments and get them blocked on your calendar. There's definitely a huge opportunity to be able to do that, because I'm sure for some of the folks that are listening, you think, okay, I'm doing so much and I'm trying to manage my marketing, and now you're telling me I got to become a public speaker. It's like, okay, help. And it's like, exactly. There's definitely some systemized points here where you can bring in some help to make it a lot easier for you.
Yeah, so kind of brings me back to your book. The I'm Is there like a system inside of Get Picked? And also, can you tell us a little bit about the awesome little toolbox you just made?
I sure can. So there is a like a 5-point strategy, I guess I could also call it a measurement tool, that when you're putting together your speaker pitch, there's kind of 5 things that we really encourage you to make sure are part of that pitch, that description of what it is that you talk about. So I'm just going to go through them quickly, and then we can talk a little bit about the toolkit. So we call them the 5 must do's for an irresistible speaker pitch. And the first one we've already kind of talked about, which is having a hot topic. That hot topic is that pain point, that struggle, that issue that your audience member is always struggling with and wants to learn more about. You've got to make sure that the topic you're talking about is the topic they want to hear about. Second
So
is, mhm,
can I stop you and tap
jump
into your
in.
marketing brain? Okay.
Sure.
So all right, so boring topic,
Mhm.
how to automate your email so you get 10 hours back, or your social media, right? How do I tap pain point, make it sexy, uh, get
Like, how
10,
do we
like,
do that, right? So
right, yeah.
chances are good, as we kind of, come out a little bit, is your audience member is really struggling with managing their time. And
Mhm.
so really the sexy part of that topic is, I can teach you how to save time to get back 10 hours of your week. And so the way to make that topic a little bit more sexy is, secrets to, let's see, we would say something like, secrets to getting 10 hours back in your week every week without even trying. And so that is immediately something that draws me in. Is like, okay, I feel like I'm at a time deficit as an entrepreneur and a business owner. I feel like I'm at a time deficit all day, every day. If you are telling me that you can show me how to get 2 hours back in my day every day of a 5-day work week, because 10 hours, I'm leaning into that. That's for me, that's a sexy idea. Show me, because I either need that time to give back to my family, I need that time to put back into my business to do things that only I can do. I need it to rest. Whatever it is I need, whatever it is I can do with those 5 hours, I want to know about that. For me as a business owner is super sexy. So you want to turn the topic into the benefit. What's the benefit that you're giving them? You're giving them back 5 hours. It's not, Automating email is, you're right, just in the base of that is not the same, but that's really the tool that achieves the result. And so even if your topic doesn't feel super sexy, take a look at it and how can you put the benefit forward, because that's really what your audience is looking to achieve. They want the benefit, and you're there to be able to teach them how to get it. And then when you can draw them in, you can explain to them, this is how you do it. And it's either super simple, something they've never thought about, or it's something that's like, look, this doesn't sound very sexy, but if you'll do these things, I guarantee you'll find some success, and you'll be able to do the things that you want, spend more time with your kids, be able to invest more time in your business. Whatever it is that they're looking to do, you get 10 hours back in your life for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, had to jump in there. Okay, number 2.
So number 2, really, once you got the topic kind of dialed in, then you want to start to really work on the actual session description, this presentation description. It always starts with the title. We always tell that you've got to start to sell with the title. You want to make the title intriguing and interesting, because for any event or conference planner, any podcast host, they're looking for, the first thing that they're going to look at is the title of what it is that you have to share. So make it interesting. We always say this is the place to be creative, to really bring your best thinking. It's a small bit of copy, but it's really kind of one of the most important things, because it's that first foot forward that someone who's considering you as a speaker is going to see. So put some time into that title. The third thing is that you want to tell a good story. And I describe a story in the simplest way, is that it's a beginning, a middle, an end, and a hero. The beginning of the story is the problem place. What are the problems that this audience is dealing with and struggling with? Small business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs struggle with finding extra time in their week to be able to spend with their families. They're not able to live the life that they thought they went into business for. That's the beginning, just using your example of how to automate, okay? The middle of the story is the journey, the application of the solution that you're going to be talking about from the stage. And so you might talk about how in this session, in this conversation, I'll share how you can find 10 hours more in your week using automation tools that are easy to apply. That's the middle. The end of the story is the success point. If applying these tools, you'll be able to have 10 hours more, up to 10 hours more in your week to spend with your family, invest in your business, or rest and relax with friends. Those are the 3 points. And the twist as you create this is to make the audience member the hero of the story. So that's why I say it's a beginning, a middle, and an end plus a hero. The goal that you have is you're writing this description, this paragraph about what you can speak about, is that you are trying to share that your audience member can be the hero of their own story, that this is achievable for them, that it's actually possible, and that they can do it. You want to draw your reader in with a little bit of maybe your own personal experience or your own personal journey. That lets them know, gives a subtle hint that you were once them, and you have found the answer, and you can teach it to them, and that you identify and understand them because you have been them. And then lastly, you want to toot your own horn a little bit. This is that place where you get to share why you're the expert. That in my case, it's because I've written speaker proposals and speaker content for corporations for more than 15 years. I get to toot my own horn a little bit. If you are, again, supporting mom business owners, that you have worked with dozens of business mothers who have business owners to help them find more time in their day. If you're an automation expert, you've helped thousands of entrepreneurs find 10 hours in each of their business weeks, so that they've been able to enjoy their businesses more and find a quality of life that they always hope to achieve. So those are kind of the elements. That's the strategy. Those are the things that you want to try to achieve in creating what it is that you have to talk about when you write it and compose it and then want to pitch it to a conference, a podcast host, even when you're thinking about just doing a live stream, you're now having to pitch yourself. Does what you're going to share in that 5-10 minute live stream, that Facebook Live, does it answer those types of questions? Are you framing a topic in that way so that it draws your audience in and they know that you're there for them, that you understand them?
And as you're talking about this, one of the tools that you actually gave me for this podcast, I just want to share with everybody to just save them. So Aurora gave me this like media kit, which was awesome because it literally had, her headshot, her bio, topics that she was good about. It had her hero story in there. It had like everything that you would need to pitch yourself, and it was in this like awesome little PDF that looked amazing. And so I would strongly recommend, if you guys are going to do this, create one of those so that you're not spending hours redoing the exact same work over and over and over again, because it's probably something that you're going to have to give to everybody where you pitch, right?
More often than not. And Michelle, thank you for that compliment. I'm so glad that was helpful to you. It's called an electronic press kit, or EPK in the speaker world. We call it an EPK, an electronic press kit. And it's really kind of the who, what, where, why, and how of you as a speaker. And you'll include things like your bio and a headshot. Sometimes, I know I include like a list of questions just to help a podcast host, get to know like, oh, let me get them jump started with some questions. Products and services that you offer, so you can talk about that. And it's a really helpful tool. You one, make it easy for yourself because you have to create it just one time. Talk about automating and being efficient.
Yep.
Create this thing one time. You just have to update it on a regular basis as things change or shift in your business. But then you get an opportunity. You can send it easily and quickly to someone, and it makes their life easier because they don't have to keep asking like, oh, do you have a this, or, oh, I need your that. And it's like, they don't have to stress. It's all in one place. All the links are there. It's a great tool.
Awesome. And guys, this doesn't have to be super complicated. I'm gonna share your secret a little bit. It was literally a PowerPoint presentation that she sent into a PDF so that it was super easy to update on the fly.
Yep.
So don't overthink it, guys.
Yeah, don't stress about it. It may be something at some point that I change. I might, make something a little bit more, little flashier. But to make life easy, I opened up a PowerPoint presentation. I used an image that actually is an image that's from my personal website, my personal business website. Used that as the cover. Put a banner across the front of it, and then just created slides with all of the pieces. Used my brand color for the banners, the title on each one of them, and just kept going until it was done. So it's really simple. If you've got great Canva skills, you can create one in Canva if you want, but if you don't, just feel free to use PowerPoint and keep it moving.
Yeah. Done is better than perfect.
Absolutely.
So help me figure out, there's tons of speaking opportunities out there that we can find. I would imagine, not all of them are paid. So which ones do I pay attention to? And if it's not paid, what can I legitimately ask for in exchange for my time?
Right. And that's absolutely true. Not every speaking engagement is paid. For us as business owners, we don't always, we won't always get a paycheck that comes along with this. It's not always going to be an immediate revenue stream, but still a very important marketing activity to engage in. So what I use to make decisions about what speaking gigs to take or not take based on whether or not I get paid or not is a couple of points. First is the quality of the audience. Is the audience so perfectly matched to what it is that I talk about and what I do? Do I feel like out of this audience, I would get a good set of leads to connect with, be able to add to my audience? So that's number one, the quality of the audience. Number two, The other thing that can be important is, can you negotiate with a conference, with an event? If it's a live event, can you negotiate about having a table at the back? So I happen to be an author. I have a book. If you have a book or other like tangible products, can you have a book table, an author's table that would be at the back of the room at the end? I've certainly had a couple of experiences where I've spoken for free, but made more money than my fee from my author's table at the back of the room. Um, Third thing that you can do is, if you aren't an author, don't have a tangible product, but you have a service or services, can you package them, and can you work with the conference organizer to sell gently from the stage, to make an offer to the audience that would be unique to them? Maybe it's a special discount, and you offer a discount code for them to sign up for a product. What are things that you can negotiate with that in real life conference organizer to offer to the audience? Again, giving you opportunities to make money beyond just collecting leads. For a summit event, more often than not, someone who's having you on as part of a summit conference, or even as a podcast guest, will give you a few moments to talk about your product or services, and then you can have something special that you can offer to them. Even if it's just your lead magnet, you want to talk about that. But if you've got an offer, a new something that you've just launched, or your signature product, be prepared to talk about that, and talk with the host or that summit organizer. Is it okay if I talk about this or offer this to the audience? And, work that out with them. So there's always ways to gain something of value. And I think that's always the deciding factor in terms of whether or not you accept a gift is, can I get something of value in exchange for the time that it's going to cost me to do this, if a check is not involved?
So let's say you're on a summit.
Mhm.
Could you, I don't know, so I'm really asking this. Is it a jerk move to ask, hey, can I have a copy of all the emails from everybody who signed up for the summit? Like, is that a complete no-no, or is that okay to ask for,
I
if you're
think,
not allowed to pitch a product or something like that?
I think in a summit event, especially when you're not being paid for it, you're not even being offered, say, an affiliate link for the cost of the summit. Because for those that may not be familiar with how summits work, a lot of times you'll see, an invitation to come to attend a summit, maybe a multi-day summit event, and it's free, and you get to see the content that's being presented for a limited time in that free membership. But if you want copies of all the videos and maybe downloads that some of the speakers are offering, then there's a fee for that. And so if the summit host maybe isn't offering an affiliate link or something like that, then yes, I think it's totally appropriate to ask, to negotiate, to, look at how can you get something of value while you're also offering something of value. I think, this is that place where you get to really put on your serving skills and serving that audience, but also looking to, like, okay, well, what is something that I can reasonably ask for, that would also be of help to me. Serving your audience doesn't mean that you give and don't get anything back all the time. Sometimes we do that, and sometimes we need to do that, but it doesn't always mean that. So I think with speaking opportunities, I think as long as you go into it with, with a heart of wanting to really support the effort, you should feel comfortable asking. And if they say no, you can certainly make decisions on your own as to whether or not it's still of value. Let's say you're a newer speaker. You may decide, yeah, this is worth it because I need the practice. I want to try out some new material. It's the first time I'm doing a summit, so I want to see what that experience is like. Whether it values you from a skill building perspective, or something comes to you that actually builds your business, look for those value points, and then decide if they're worth it to you to invest the time.
Okay. So I gotta ask, tell us a story of like the funniest thing that happened to you while you're on stage.
Well, I don't know if it was the funniest thing, but it was actually, I think one of the worst nightmares I think that people have about being on stage is, what if I have a coughing attack? And in 15 years, maybe more of either speaking or coaching speakers or being a stand-up presenter, that had never happened to me until last year. And so I went through a stretch last year. In about 2 weeks, I spoke probably 5 times in 2 weeks. And I got to my last speaking event, and it was actually the one I was looking forward to the most. And I could feel arriving at the venue that my voice was tired. And I felt like almost like my vocal cords were a little on the swollen side because I'd been talking so much. And so as the program got underway, I just kind of felt the swelling and the closing of my throat. And I thought, okay, this is going to be tough. This is going to be hard because your throat is dry and your throat is swollen. And so I thought, okay, well, you're just going to give it your best. And I got up there and I probably got about halfway through, and the dryness and the swelling finally took hold and the coughing started. And it was not just a little coughing attack, it was an epic coughing attack. And I had to employ the advice that I give to every speaker, and I had to do my own self-talk in my own head. But I literally had to step away from the microphone, go to just to the right of the stage and just cough it out. And there was nothing I could do. This was not one of those coughs that was going to settle itself down with a few sips of water. I had to cough it out. Tears in my eyes. It was epic.
Your back looked like you were at a Halloween party. You've got the mascara dripping. That is so awesome.
And so I had to remind myself that this is what I tell people. It's like, things like this happen. They're not unusual. Every great speaker has probably, think about the greatest speaker you've ever heard or ever known. It has happened to them. And my advice has always been, if you need to step to the side and you got to cough it out, do that, get some water, do your best, take the time you need to compose yourself and step back to the mic. Your audience, your head is telling you, my God, this is horribly embarrassing. But the truth is your audience is so incredibly sympathetic. No audience shows up wanting to see a train wreck on the stage. That your audience is for you. They're never there to see you fail. They're there to see you succeed. And when you have a tough moment on the stage, they're supportive of you. They're sympathetic. And so they just want to see you be able to handle it with grace, maybe a little bit of humor, compose yourself, and go right back to your presentation. You might have a moment's like, well, I guess I can say I can check this off my bucket list, having a horrible coughing attack on stage, done. And then just pick up your presentation and keep going. It's not great. It wasn't great for me. After it was over, I would say, a quarter of the audience came up, to say hello and to thank me for my time. And they said, oh, we felt so bad for you. And I said, thank you so much. They were sympathetic and I was very grateful for that. But, it was a moment. I remember saying to myself, I'm like, okay, it's actually happening.
Yeah. And you're totally right. It happens to everybody. I remember I was at a WOW summit, and I mean, there's easily 20,000 people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to be clear, I was a member of the audience. I was not speaking. That would have been epic, but that did not happen. So Rudy Giuliani is on stage, right? And he just had the exact same thing happen. I mean, all of a sudden, just he's sneezing and coughing at the same time, and the whole front row is getting sprayed. and he literally just had to walk off the stage, and he came back and he's like, well, at least I'm human.
It's really true. And all of those things, they're real moments. And so if you step to public speaking, just based on odds, eventually one of your worst nightmares may happen, whether it's you forget your place, the technology breaks down, all of it. Yes, all of your worst fears, yes, they're possible, but you can deal with them, you can manage them. And your audience is sympathetic with you. Your audience is always for you. They're never against you.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times I'll tell myself, just to kind of put things in perspective, hey, guess what? Everybody in the audience, this is going to sound crazy, but everybody in the audience had to put their pants on one leg at a time too. So
right.
we're all human. And, I think sometimes if we just give ourselves grace, it allows the audience to give yourself grace too. They're like,
absolutely.
Like if you're like, about it, they're like, about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, so yeah, so that was my worst moment. As you can see, I can talk about it with a great smile. It was one of those like, okay, I guess it's really happening. And so I lived every speaker's worst nightmare.
That's not awesome, but awesome at the
Yeah.
same time. So I just have to share this one story. So we're my buddy and I were on a podcast, and we're like right in the middle of like this like really in-depth, like the guy is like bearing his soul, and somehow um I won't put his name out there, but he literally fell off his chair. He was leaning back and it just tipped backwards, and he just flat out right in the like epic drama of the moment. And he got up and he's like, sorry dude, you were saying? like, well, what are you gonna do, right?
He just picked himself up and kept going, just didn't miss a beat. That's awesome.
Yeah, but okay, so before we go, please tell us about your toolbox.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the toolkit. It's called the Get Picked Speakers Toolkit, and I created this because so many speakers over the years have asked me about how to create a speaker proposal when you're not responding to what's called a call for speakers, where the conference doesn't give you some type of template or form to fill out, but you have to create something yourself. Or you meet someone and they say, gosh, your topic sounds great, can you send me a proposal? And you're at a loss as to how to create something that is that captures all the things that need to be included, that looks great, that you can feel confident about sending. So the Get Picked Speakers Toolkit is a set of speaker templates so that you can create a speaker proposal really quickly and really easily. In the template, I include all kinds of writing prompts so that you know what to include in each section. I do a video overview of each one so you can actually hear me walk you through what you should include and why. I give you 2 examples of each template usage from speaking gigs that I pitched myself and actually got picked for. Those speaker templates include the fees that I charged and got paid to present. So you'll even get a sense of what you could
Wow, that
charge
was
if you.
incredibly generous of
Yeah,
you.
I just wanted people to see
Nobody lets go of that information.
I definitely wanted people to be able to see that. And then I've also included a set of what I call template switch out. So some different examples of how you can present it. Obviously the most obvious simple one is a Word, in a Word document, but also how to use some different presentation styles if you're wanting to kind of change up the look a little bit. And then there's also a set of 40 questions to ask an event planner so that you can get to know the event that you're pitching and learn a little bit about it. And then there's a tracker in there as well so that if you're really going to serious about leaning into speaking and you're sending out lots of pitches, a place for you to log the pitches, responses, follow-up, things like that. But those templates, I've had some folks use them before and they open them up and it's like, you just have solved the problem, the mystery of what should go in here and what I should write. You don't have to sit there looking at your screen, having your cursor blink at you as you're trying to figure out like, okay, what needs to go in here? I've kind of solved all of that for you. Comes together in one great little package, great kit, all digital downloads, $37. So with that, probably on your first gig, you'd probably pay for the kit itself.
Wow, that's incredible. So if you guys are listening and you're like, all right, I want to dip my toes in this. So you need 3 things, right? You need the Get Picked book, you need the Get Picked toolkit, and then you need Aurora's website, which is A as in apple, U as in umbrella, R as in Ralph, O as in ostrich, R as in Ralph, A as in apple, G as in George, R as in Ralph, E as in Edwards, G as in George, O as in ostrich, R as in Ralph, Y as in yak. I'm going to pick yak.com. That was a whole lot of Ralphs. So
yeah, I didn't realize I had so many R's in my name. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So AuroraGregory.com. And her email address is aurora@auroragregory.com. And there's links on the website to both the book and the toolkit.
There's a link on the website for the book. Definitely. The book is available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback formats. The toolkit has a life and a place all of its own. So if you go to the getpickedtoolkit.com, you'll find it and you'll be able to grab it. Like I said, it's available. All of the products and tools are digital downloads, so you'll be able to use them immediately. So if you find yourself with a speaking opportunity that comes up right after this podcast, after you listen to this podcast, go grab it. I think it'll solve a lot of problems for you.
Awesome. That is amazing. And guys, we will have all those links in the show notes for you. So just pull that up and you'll be able to easily click on them. Aurora, thank you so much for your time and your willingness to really just bear it all and show us behind the curtain. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I've had a great time, Michelle. Anytime. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Hey guys, this was awesome. Make sure you download this one, like it, sign up for Aurora, hit her up on Facebook. You'll have all those links in the show notes, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.